the hydroponic system, the products, they have a longer shelf life than the ones that are grown in the open field. They are crisper and they are more tasty, better flavored than the ones that are grown in the open market, open field. Right now what I'm doing is just trimming some bandania because this stacky system cannot accommodate these seeds. If it was in an open field, it will fall and more plants will come up. But in this system, that cannot happen. I think the quality of the produce speaks for itself, because it's right now what is happening is that people buy and they tell others, and they might even give as gifts a bag of seasoning. We do a special with different types of seasonings, chives and celery and parsley, fine thyme, bandania, and we put a little bit of each together with some Spanish thyme and, as I said, chive and parsley and celery. We do a bag of seasoning. A $20 bag will do an average household, but of course if people ask for special things, because some people have their own things at home, they'll ask for more chive or more thyme and we accommodate them. And this of course is the fine leaf thyme here. It grows very nicely in this stacky system.
In the beginning we initially started with cantaloupe, as well as we started with something called Swiss chard. Swiss chard belongs to the family of beetroot. It is some people would liken it to kale in terms of its nutritional value, because sometimes it's just as and even more nutritious than kale, but grows twice as quickly. Since then, we have moved into doing seasoning primarily. As you know, in Trinidad, our famed thing is green seasoning. That's what we pride ourselves on in terms of cooking. This, what you're looking at right now, would be some celery. On the other lane right across here, you would notice that we have some flat leaf parsley. All of these things they would be considered elements of your typical green seasoning. But what we also mainly known for is the quality of the goods that we produce here.
I had no intention of becoming a hydroponic farmer. As it turned out, I happened to be in the company of some people who were going to a hydroponic presentation. And the man who came to do the presentation, he set people up to do hydroponic farming. So I was so interested. The presentation was very interesting. And my first thought was about not so much the farming aspect of it, but me wanting to help out a sibling of mine. You know? So I had a brother who was unemployed at the time, and he was just at home, overweight and just not exercising or doing anything. So I felt that this hydroponic farming would be good for him, because we had the land space in the backyard for him. So if I could set up some hydroponic farming for him, it will help him to get up and get out, get active, perhaps possibly lose some weight, get involved in something productive, earn a little money. So I saw it as a win-win-win. So right away after the presentation, I contacted the gentleman, called him, and he helped set up everything. So what he did, he would design the system, he would procure the materials, he would come and set up the system, for which we would pay him a fee. He even had a contract with us where he would, when we reap, he would take all the produce and he would sell it. So even the marketing was a non-issue for us.
The particular area we live in is subjected to fruit flies, so that wasn't too successful. But my grandson and myself, we did an online course with UE on hydroponics. And in it, when we talk about pests and so, they recommended that we use things like chive and these high scented seasonings, which will help ward off some of the insects. And the chive grew so beautifully that is what we are doing now. And you know, Trinidadians like their seasoning. I really enjoy coming out here and working. Sometimes people have to call me inside, "You haven't eaten yet," because I just get involved in the plants. And it's such a delight to see how they grow, the progress they make. And you know, they are like little children. With this system that we have the drip cords going into every bag. So I have to take a walk every morning and sometimes during the day to make sure each drip cord is in the bag so that the plants could get their nutrition. Here we have some chive. From this main, the nutrients and water as well come through here along this, and from each we have what we call emitters, these little things here. They regulate the amount of fluid that will come from this main tubing into the plant, so the plant does not get waterlogged. So these are the drip cords, and they must be in the bag, otherwise the plants will not get the nutrition that they should get. So every morning I have to take a walk through and make sure the cords are in place, because sometimes with the little pressure they slip out, and in such a case the plant is going to be deprived of nutrients or water. It's not only nutrients they get plain ordinary water. They get water at least 5 times a day, 3 times with plain water and twice with nutrients. If you notice, I have my plants up on crates because they started off on the ground level and bending was always a problem. So I got crates and I raised them, and like this one behind here, we have the crates and slabs of wood, so it's easier for me to reach. But imagine these things on the ground and we have to be pruning them all the time. It was too difficult.
In terms of hydroponics, hardly we have competitors with farms this size. And fun fact, actually from all that you're seeing currently, we're only moving at 50% capacity. This is because, as you could see in this lane right here, you could do the footage, right here you would have plants going from end to end, but they're only on one side. Now this negates all of the plants that is possible for us to have on this side. So technically we're only moving at 50% capacity in all of the lanes. So where we have 12 rows of goods right now, ideally we're supposed to have 24 rows of goods. But yeah, I would say the size. That's what makes us unique.
I will advise people who are now starting to look for crops that are not labor intensive, crops that are easy to manage, and of course the scale on which you do it. Rather than doing one big, start a small area, and then as you get experience you make sure that you know what you are doing, and then you can expand.
So currently, as you can see, the system just turned on as we use the hydroponic methods of farming. We have something called a drip-away system. What a lot of people will be accustomed to would be the NFT system or the nutrient film technique systems. These would be your typical PVC pipe with the cuttings to put in things like what people will be accustomed to, like lettuce. They could even do seasonings as well. The seasonings tend to grow well in those systems, but we utilize the drip-to-away technology. The
drip hoses come into the bag, and the excess moisture will just fall onto the ground. The other system is one with a recirculating system. The one that you all see throughout Trinidad, quite a bit of it, like on tabletops with a lot of PVC. Both has its disadvantage. This one, for example, if one plant gets a disease, it isn't necessary for the others to get. Whereas with the recirculating system, if the disease is in the system, then all the plants will just get the disease. So that is one of the advantages of the drip, or disadvantages of the recirculating system. It's easier to isolate diseased plants then and prevent others from getting infected.
So here, this black, the long black hose here, this one would be fed by one of the long white taps that you see at the end of each lane, and there's a certain level of pressure that the line has to build up in order for the water to pass through these round devices here known as emitters, and then the water then goes through the hose and then down into the bag.
If you notice, some hoses are black and some are white. That's another experience we had. These hoses were really too small. So you notice at the end of it, the person who started it up heated it so that it could fit here. Unlike this is the correct size. Right? So this one fits snugly in here. So we have to be, and then we have the anchors. These pegs that will keep them in place.
So that's how the plants and they receive water automatically, as we have timers and that kind of stuff to make sure that even if it is we aren't able to physically be here, the farm is in a position to take care of itself.
We have to be always walking through and pruning and taking out all the little leaves that are drying up. And we try to use organic sprays, neem-based sprays, rather than toxic things, so it will be safe for consumption. This is the size that we get. See? That's it. And somebody called me and told me, she said, I'm so pleased with my sieve. When I cut it, it's so nice and crisp. And as I say, they last longer. All you have to do is to put this in the fridge in an airtight container, and it will last for weeks, and I mean weeks. This, you'll notice that there are some brown spots on this, and that's because I was away for a little while, so they weren't sprayed. But this is a type of size of celery. This is an ideal celery with all the spots is what we normally get. Why is this called? Stephen can tell you why this is brown. Stephen?
So the brown spots would be somewhat of a bacterial infection on the plant. This usually tends to happen when the plant isn't necessarily growing in the best of circumstances. For example, celery, which is in man right now, this plant is something that likes to be in constant moisture, as well as it would appreciate if the weather around it was also a little bit moist as well. So how the Sahara does recently pass and we have a lot of sun now being in dry season, this crop tends not to do as well as let us say side, which does tend to grow very well in drier conditions, both in the soil and atmospherically speaking.
And we normally reap in the evening after 6 at sundown, so that it will stay crisp very early in the morning. 5 o'clock in the morning we'll get up and reap so that it will reach the customer nice and crisp. It won't be wilted. And we have here, for example, the celery plant. What happens is that as it grows, it sends off little shoots. We're supposed to clip those off to give the mother plant, as it were, better chance to grow nice and strong. So if you look here, you will see a little side shoot. I just will clip this off like this. These little ones we could always put when we are bundling scythe. We could always add this to the scythe to sell a bundle of scythe. We always put a little celery and parsley with it. So we will use that for this purpose. But it's good to trim it off so that the plant itself, the main shoot, will grow nice and big with thick stalks like this one. And this is curly leaf parsley here. I am surprised that a lot of people don't use parsley, and it's supposed to be a healthy thing. Curly leaf parsley. And we also have a flat leaf parsley that is supposed to have a very flavorful, especially for stews and Italian type dishes. But it's a flatter leaf. We have some across on the other side. Well, everybody knows that it's Spanish time. I just had when we were doing this, we had a big tree here, so we cut it down. So I just made a little platform of the trunk of the tree, and we have the Spanish time on it. This is a flat leaf celery parsley, as opposed to the curly leaf or just so. This one they say is very good for people who have on a low salt diet because it has a natural salty flavor to it. So they use that instead of salt for people on low salt diets.
I just want to say a big thank you to our customers. If they ever see this, you all make this entire thing possible, and we really wouldn't have need for all of these goods if it wasn't for all of you, and it has really been a pleasure serving all of you, to be very honest.
It's only since September, October, the ending of last year, that I am seeing, as they say, a green light with the seasoning, because it is going very well. We are getting good reports. People are liking the size that we produce, the crispness of the celery, the size of the celery stalks, all these things we are getting compliments about, and that is encouraging. See, like this is one of the celery stalks, and this is an example of the size of the celery stalks we have been having.
One of the initial challenges, as one would have with agriculture and things like it, would be the steep learning curve at the very beginning. As I was discussing with somebody recently, you could kind of liken a situation like getting accustomed to agriculture, as in when people say you have to learn your car, you also have to learn your garden, you have to learn your plants, you have to learn what they like, what they respond to, you know, what nutrients they give them, how often to water depending on the weather, and these things, they come with time. So I would say one of the difficult hurdles at the very beginning would be that learning curve. It's a bit steep.
I am now pleased with what is happening, because we started last year around January, and it's only around September, October, we went into the sieve and seasoning, and it has been so encouraging. We did a lot of Swiss chard. The Swiss chard is also was very good, but we don't have a ready market for Swiss chard because it's not a very popular thing in Trinidad. It's an extremely nutritious thing. It's a family of pak choy, but not many people know it. But I will go back to it too if I can get a ready market for it.
My advice to anybody will be to start off small. You know, it's kind of small scale, kind of get your feet wet, kind of get an understanding of what it is all about, and look for crops that are not labor intensive, very easy to manage. And once you start getting the hang of that, then you could probably start moving to more labor intensive stuff. Once you get a full hang of what it is about and how much you could manage and that sort of stuff. Our situation, we were fortunate in that the guy who set us up, the contract we had, he would take the produce, so we didn't have to worry about marketing. But if that is not your situation, you have to, of course, make sure you have a market for the produce that you want to sell. Unless, of course, you're doing it just for a little home gardening to have your own stuff when you need it.
So I will start with something simple. Tomatoes and sweet pepper, yes, but they are very labor intensive. You have to be very, very finicky. You have to prune and spray and so on. But with the seasoning, it is much easier. So that is what I will recommend. And perhaps start on a smaller scale than we started.
Going into agriculture is just as much a change as choosing to go to the gym. I would say a lot of people might underestimate the amount of effort that it takes to actually be a person involved in agriculture.